Hello everyone. Let's review shlokas 142 to 143 in Lalita Sahasranamam. Mithyā jagada dhiśhṭhānā muktidā muktirūpiṇī lāsyapriyā layakarī lajjā rambhādi vanditā bhavadā vasudhā vṛśhṭiḥ pāpāraṇya davānalā daurbhāgya tūla vātūlā jarā dhvānta raviprabhā. Let's look at the meanings of the namas. But before we look at the namas, just a quick recap. We are looking at Devi as the transformation. That is, when we are worshipping Devi, what kind of changes that she brings about in our life. That's the background for this namas. And we've been looking at a series of namas around that. So we'll take a look at the first nama here. Mithyā jagat adhisthana. Mithyā means something that is false, that is not true. And you might have all heard a saying called Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. So the Brahman is the ultimate reality, that is true, but Jagam, that universe, is a false or a perception. So Mithya here references the Maya, which creates the illusion. Jagat means universe. Adhisṭhānā means the foundation or the source. So, mithyā jagadadhisṭhānā means she is the source of the illusory universe. So, all of us live in that illusory universe, right? And why is it an illusion? It doesn't mean that the things that we are seeing in the material world are some product of our mind. They all exist. But the illusion is that we tend to see all of them as separate entities. And therefore, our interaction with them is also as if they are all separate. But this entire world is only one thing, and that is the ultimate reality. That ultimate reality, out of its own will, is manifesting as multiple forms, and that's why we call this entire world as nama rupam. Everything is about the function and form, and based on that we give it a name, and that the name sticks, and then we only think about the name and we forget what is the underlying essence. And that's why pretty frequently it gets compared to, if there are things that are made of gold, right? If we wear it in the neck, we call it necklace. If we wear it in the finger, we call it ring. If we wear it in our wrist, we call it bangle. And if we wear it in our ears, then we call it earring. But if you take a step back, everything is gold, right? If they're all gold jewelry, the underlying essence for everything is gold. But in associating such names, we forget that the underlying thing is gold, and the treatment is the same. So we tend to have that. Of course, in a jewelry case, we may not treat them very differently. But the moment somebody has a form and they behave in a certain way, then we start to create perceptions about that person, and then we start to put these behaviors I like, therefore this is a good person. These behaviors I don't like, therefore this is a bad person. And then we put them in those buckets, and then based on our perception of them being bad, we treat them in that way, right? Or anything else. It's not just people, anything. The moment we start putting them into boxes, our interaction with them is based on that label that we have associated with it, and not based on the underlying fact that it is all ultimate reality. And therefore, she is the cause for that. It is not simply happening, but she is the source of that illusory universe. If this is a perception and this is causing, why should it be there? Because the Maya is a very important thing in the creation process. It is because of that Maya, it is because of this perception, there is the ability to continue the universe and propagate the universe and have a sustainable way of continuing to have the universe populated. So that is a very important thing, and she is the source of it. And as the source of our illusory universe, all the pleasures we experience in this material world is also something that she creates. And therefore, she is mithyā jagadadhisṭhānā. Muktidā. Mukti means liberation. So what does liberation represent? Liberation means the transformation that we will undergo to understand that everything that appears as different is actually not different, it is the same, right? To understand that everything is interconnected and that everything stems from that ultimate source. And even though it may look like this and behave like this, essentially it is the ultimate reality that is in that. So the ability to recognize that is called as liberation. That means the moment, when will we get to that liberation? That liberation will happen only when we let go of all the impurities of our mind, let go of all the past accumulated experiences that we have, let go of all this classification of everything into good and bad, right and wrong, like and dislike. Let go of all of this and let go of our identity. And this identity is one that makes us want to keep classifying things. When we let go of all of that and we have exhausted all our papam and punyam, at that point we become capable of that transformation. So she is someone who's capable of giving that transformation. Mukti means liberation, da means giver, one who's capable of. So while she is the source of the illusory universe, she is also the one who can grant that liberation or transformation, or the wisdom to understand that everything is one. And that is something that she is capable of. And when we start to understand that everything is one, then that individual will be so full of love. And that individual would have let go of their identity. When you let go of their of identity, you're completely transformed. It is our identity and perception that makes us who we are. If we drop that, then we are transformed. So she is one who's capable of giving that transformation. Muktirūpiṇī. Mukti again is liberation. Rūpiṇī means in the form of or embodiment of. So she is not just someone who grants that liberation. Actually, she is that liberation that we are seeking. So it is her. She is the essence of that liberation. So Muktirūpiṇī means she is the form of that liberation. Lāsyapriyā. Lasyam is a dance. It is a dance that is so full of grace, beauty, charm, love, and it is a dance where through a lot of expression you're communicating with the audience. So Lasyam is a feminine dance, and this was created by Parvati. So we all know that Shiva is the king of dance. He is Nataraja, and Shiva's dance is called as Tāndavam. And Tāndavam generally is a dance of destruction. It's a cosmic dance, but it's a dance of destruction. And we would have all heard Rudra Tāndavam. When Shiva is angry, then he does this dance. Of course, there is one Tāndavam called Ananda Tāndavam. So that is a dance of bliss. So Shiva is also capable of doing that. But generally, Tāndavam is a intense, fierce, it's emoting all the anger and destruction. And Lasyam is a complete contrast to that, and that's created by Parvati, and it is a dance of creation. Because if you see, the essence of this universe is Shringara Rasam, and that Shringaram means union, right? Union with anything. So that is so full of love. Only if you have love, you can merge with something. As long as we think of ourselves as distinct and another, I and another, we'll only love ourselves, will not love another. So Shringaram is the essence of this universe, and that Shringaram is the full of love, and Lasyam is a dance that's so full of love. And typically in Lasya dance, they emote love and longing for the partner, and that Lasyam dance, you can think of it as a dance of creation, because love is the essence of this creation, essence of this universe. So she is fond of, Priya means fond of. So she is fond of the essence of creation, or she is fond of the dance of creation. So it's a contrast to Shiva's dance of destruction. It's the dance of creation. Or very simply, you can think of it as she is fond of this Lasya dance that is so gracefully executed. Layakarī. Layam means rhythm. Right? If you are creating a dance is based on rhythm. You have to move according to the music and the beat. And so layam is a rhythm, and kari means creator. So she creates the rhythm. She created the rhythm. So if you combine it with lasyam as a dance, then layakarī means she created rhythm. And if you create dance, you have to have a beat. So that is one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is layam is also union. So when you are listening to music, in Tamil they'll say laichi kekkaradu. So that layam means that you are in tune with it, you become in sync with it, and you've just engrossed in it, and that's called as layam. And that kind of layam, or this engrossment, or the focus, or the ability to connect is very important if we are seeking transformation. And therefore, she is someone who can create that kind of ability to connect with with her, so that we can seek that transformation. So you can think of layam as someone who creates the ability to connect, and that is a basis for the transformation. If we cannot connect, if we cannot continue on the path, we can't get to that liberation, and she is capable of creating. So if you look at it in Tamil, they call temples as Alayam. A in Tamil means cow. And cow generally, Pashu, even in Pashupati we call. Pashu is something that is referred to all of us. It's not just animals, it's all of us. As long as we are working in or we are acting in a pre-programmed manner and not breaking out of it, and that is what the animals are. They cannot change their behavior. They can only act in the way that they are created. So tiger will always remain a non-vegetarian carnivore. It will not suddenly say, oh, it's a bad idea to eat a deer, poor thing, I'm killing it, and therefore let me become a vegetarian. Is not something that the tiger is capable of. And as human beings, we all have the ability to think, we have the ability to introspect and then change our behavior. But awareness is needed. Being in touch with our emotions is needed. Being in touch with our thoughts is needed. And as long as we are not doing all of that, we are still in the Pashu category, because we work in a pre-programmed manner. So, Alayam means these Pashus who are working in a pre-programmed manner, their ability to go and sync with the energy that's residing in that temple in the form of that particular murti. That's why in Tamil we call the temple as Alayam. So, she is the one who gives us at least that much buddhi to go connect, and the ability to go. Lajjā also sometimes is referenced to as shame. And that shame is what will tell you, the shame is not like you did a bad action, but the shame is something that will keep us modest and humble, right? Not speaking highly of ourselves. And you can see here, and even in the previous namas, she is the bud of the bliss, right? And she is the one who created this illusory universe. She can grant liberation. So you can see how much powers that she has. And even though she has all of these powers, she is so approachable, and she is the mother. And if you see, entire Lalita Sahasranamam starts with Shri Mata, right? She is the queen, she is the Maharagni, she is the entire universe's queen, right? Yet she is approachable to each one of us, and we are all able to reach out to her like a mother and child. And when you look at the mother and child, is there anything that the child cannot ask the mother? We take our moms for granted, right? And even with mothers, if you see, you don't have to do anything great to please them. What pleases the mother is only love, right? And even if today we all say, okay, let me cook for you, let me do this, you don't have to buy expensive gift, nothing. You just sit with your mom for a few minutes, she is happy, right? You connect with her for a few minutes, she is happy. In that, she is also the same way. She is approachable for us, and she puts herself in the form of a mother, so that we don't have any block between her and us. In that, she is modest. Rambhādi vanditā. Rambha Adi vanditā. Rambha is a queen of Apsaras, and you all know in Indra's court there are several Apsaras. Apsaras are very beautiful, and most beautiful women, if you will. And these Apsaras are also extremely good at dancing. So they are the celestial dancers, and beautiful celestial dancers, and Rambha happens to be the queen of all of them. Adi means and others. So Rambha Adi means Rambha and other celestial Apsaras like her. Vanditā. Vanditā means worshipped by. She is someone who is worshipped by Rambha and other Apsaras like her. And you can look at it in two ways. She is the one who created the dance Lasyam, right? Between Parvati and Shiva, they have complete ownership for dance, and these are all dancers, and therefore they all worship them. And the other thing is also there are many stories where some of these apsaras were cursed, and they always execute Indra's plan, and in the process sometimes they get cursed, and with Parvati's help they've been able to get rid of all of those curses. So Rambhādi Vanditā, worshipped by Rambha and other apsaras. Bhavadā vasudhā vṛśhṭiḥ. Bhava means the samsaram, or this life, this birth. You can think of it as this birth. Dava means a fire, and it's not a small fire, it's like a forest fire. Sudha means amritam, nectar. And we all know when amritam, when somebody comes in touch with amritam, they become immortal. That means there is, and not just immortal, they don't even age. Everything is preserved. Vṛśhṭiḥ means rain. Bhavadā vasudhā vṛśhṭiḥ. So when this particular birth, because of circumstances, becomes like a forest fire, and you can see when there is a fire, you can't stay in that place. It's unbearable, right? And sometimes in life, circumstances will get to a situation, circumstances will lead us to a point where it's unbearable. It is not possible for us to take it. It's like standing in the fire, right? And you can't take it. The heat is getting. So we'll say we are in a hot spot, right? Hot situation, hot seat. So when life becomes like that, then she is the Sudha Vṛśhṭiḥ. Vṛśhṭiḥ means rain. So when there is this high fire, she is the rain that cools it down. And it's not just any rain, that is with water. And if the rain falls on a forest fire, you can see whatever is burnt will be burnt, and whatever is burning could switch off. But whatever destruction has happened, that destruction has happened. But she is the Sudha Vṛśhṭiḥ. She is the rain of nectar. And what is the thing about Sudha? The Amritam will replenish it. It brings everything back to the way it was, and it is immortal. The destruction is undone. So when circumstances in life are so unbearable and we are suffering, then she is the one who comes and calms that down, soothes it down, cools it down, but at the same time she ensures that we don't suffer the negative consequences for that. So she is Bhavadā vasudhā vṛśhṭiḥ. Pāpāraṇya davānalā. Pāpāraṇya davānalā. Papa means sins. Aranyam means forest, a dense forest. Davānalā, dava anala. Dava again here means fire, and anala means fire, and davānalā means a forest fire. So it is a huge thing. It's not like a small fire, and you all can see forest fires in seconds they can travel, right? And it can completely destroy anything in its path. So she is the forest fire, and it is like that big, right? That fire that can go destroy all the sins which are like a dense forest. So Aranyam, if you look at a dense forest, you won't know your way around, and the trees are grown left and right, and you won't even know what's where. It is dark. So she is the one who can, and clearing a forest like that is not an easy thing. Going and cutting one tree at a time will not work. So like that, all of us have accumulated sins, and these sins have come from so many births, and in one go she is the forest fire who can just clear everything away and destroy anything that comes in the path. So a little bit about the Papa, right? So generally if you see, we all know about karma, right? Karma means we face the consequences for our actions. So if we did good actions, we'll get good results. If we did bad actions, we'll get bad results. So basically own your actions, take responsibility for your actions. And the way the karma works according to our scriptures, it's not like a bank account where you have credit and debit, right? So you could think of papam as the debit and punyam as a credit, but that's not how this works. Actually, they are two separate accounts. The papam is a separate account, punyam is a separate account. So they both don't net. So whatever papam we do, we'll face the consequences for that. Whatever punyam we do, we'll enjoy that also. So, and as long as there is a balance, the day the person's account gets closed and then they merge with the ultimate reality is when papam equals 0 and punyam equals 0. Both accounts have to be cleared. Even if all the papam is cleared, you only have punyam, somebody will take a birth just to go enjoy the results of the punyam, right? So, and also God is very kind. Whatever papam we accumulate, they don't make us go through all of that in the same birth. So that's why there are separate accounts for the papam. So it is like a stock account. There is a vesting schedule. The employee stock option, there is a vesting schedule. All the stocks granted will not vest on the same day. There is a maybe a yearly plan or something like that. Papam is also like that. So there is a total papam that we have done, and then out of that there is a apportioned papam for this particular birth, that is called as prarabdha karma. So whatever you have to face in this birth, that is prarabdham. Then what happens is that's okay, as long as there is accumulated and there is it's vesting over a period of time. What is accumulated stays constant. It vests over a certain period of time, then we can get rid of the papam. But the catch is, when we get a birth, in that birth also we acquire new papam, right? Because of our actions, we'll get new papam. And actually, papam is not just because of our actions. While I'm using that word, our words and thoughts also result in papam. So, if we want to avoid papam, it's not just that we shouldn't do bad actions. We should not even have bad thoughts. We should not have thoughts that intend harm for other people. We should not say words that hurt other people. We should not definitely do any actions that will result in a problem for another person. So all of that together. But the thing is, living a life like that is very hard. And therefore what happens is everybody acquires the papam also in that particular birth. So that is called as agami karma, agami papam. So whatever you acquire in that birth, and then that gets added to the total papam. So because of that, there is a constant cycle of birth and death, and that is not something that is easy to exhaust, right? It keeps adding up, and that's why even if we exhaust all the things we have acquired so far, we keep acquiring, and therefore it's very hard to reach a state where papam is 0 and punyam is 0. And the only way someone can get to that state is if Lalita comes and closes their account. And that's why she is the pāpāraṇya davānalā. The sadhana can get her grace in a way where she has completely destroyed all our sins, and therefore we do not have this cycle of birth and death. Daurbhāgya, tūla, vātūlā. Daurbhāgyam means misfortunes. Tūla means cotton. In Tamil, they call it ilavam panju. It's a very light cotton. Vātūlā. Vātūlā means tornado. So, daurbhāgya tūla vātūlā. So, with her grace, all our misfortunes are like a cotton that's caught in a tornado. We know tornado is capable of even lifting houses and flying them away. And she is that tornado, and before her, our misfortunes are just like cotton. Cotton can easily be dispersed, but so our misfortunes that we all feel is insurmountable or it's so unbearable are just like a cotton caught in a tornado. So she is the tornado who will come and make all our misfortunes fly away. Jarā, dhvānta, raviprabhā. So jarā means old age, and generally if you see, everything that's born goes through 4 stages. First there is birth, then there is growth, and these are all the young stages. Then there is decay, and then there is death. So this jarā represents the decay and death. Dhvānta means darkness. Ravi means the sun, and prabha means the brightness of the sun or the light of the sun. So she is the sunlight that dispels the darkness due to the decay and death. So if you look at it, for lots of people and for human beings, the moment they reach a certain age, old age, old age creeps upon people. You don't realize it, and suddenly one day it's there, and that old age creates a lot of fear of death or lots of problems. And she is the sun that dispels all those darkness and is able to get us to the path of light or path of wisdom. And Jara doesn't necessarily have to be interpreted as old age. You can even in any age, decay, death, or being stagnant in a certain situation is possible. And so she is the one who creates the layam, right? She is creating the ability for us to connect. But sometimes you can be stagnated and you can still remain in that ignorance. And you can think of dhvānta, the darkness, as ignorance. So jara dhvānta, jara can be interpreted as decay. So when somebody is stagnated, they're continuing to remain in this ignorance, continuing to remain in the under the influence of Maya, and continuing to have perception. She is the sunlight that dispels that ignorance. That's another way to look at it. So with that, we have looked at all the namas, and let's look at a story related to Lasyapriyā. So we said Lasyam is a dance that was created by Parvati. So once upon a time, there was a demon called Banasura. Banasura came in the lineage of Prahlada. And just like Prahlada was a great devotee of Vishnu, Banasura was a great devotee of Shiva. So Banasura undertook a great penance, and obviously Shiva was very pleased with his penance, and Shiva asked him, "What is it that you want?" And so Banasura told him, "The only thing I want is to be always with you. And so you should always protect me, and you should always be on my side." And so Shiva agreed, and he said, "I'll always protect you." And so Banasura was very close with Shiva, and to the extent that Banasura had several arms, and he used to play mridangam when Shiva was dancing tandavam. So that is how close he is. So Banasura had this free access to go to Kailasam, see Shiva anytime, and so he was very close, and he continued to be very devoted. He did all the puja, and he was very particular about it. Once when Banasura went to Kailasa, he wanted to meet Shiva, but Nandi said, "You know what, Shiva is busy now, you can't meet Shiva, so you go and come after some time." And Banasura had this such great devotion, and he thought of Shiva as his. He couldn't take the fact that he was not allowed when he wanted to see. It's not like Nandi said, "You can't come into Kailasa." He just said, "Wait for some time. He's busy now, you can't go." But Banasura wanted to meet Shiva whenever he pleased so. And so the next time when he met Shiva, he told Shiva, "You know what, if you live in Kailasa, all these people have rules, and therefore I can't see you whenever I want. You told me you'll always be with me. That means I want the ability to see you whenever. So you come and stay in my city." And so Banasura was in a city called Sonitapura. And so he said, "You come and stay in my city. So then if you are in my city, under my rule, then nobody will stop me if I want to come and see." So he said, "You come." And obviously Shiva had said that, "I will be with you, I will protect you." Therefore when Banasura asked him, he said, "Okay, fine, I will come." So Shiva and his entire family moved from Kailasa to Sonitapura. And just outside Sonitapura, they had a nice palace constructed. So Shiva, Parvati, Ganesha, Subramanya, everybody was residing there. And Banasura had free access. And now you can think about it. Banasura was very devoted to Shiva. But imagine how the rest of the world will perceive, or rest of the universe will perceive, if Shiva is on the side of Banasura and he is staying with Banasura. That made Banasura extremely powerful. And this was a power derived from the power of Shiva. Nobody wants to mess with Shiva, and everybody knows that he has a boon that Shiva will protect him. And therefore, everybody started being scared of Banasura. Obviously, that power went to Banasura's head, and therefore he also started behaving very arrogant. but he continued to be very devoted, etc. So this entire family is there, and the Banasura had a daughter called Usha, and she's a very beautiful girl. And because now Shiva, Parvati, everybody is in Sonitapura, Usha was very interested in dance, and you can see already her father is playing the mridangam for Shiva's Tandava, so obviously the family was into it. So Usha wanted to learn dance, and Lasyam is something Parvati created, and she's extremely good at it. So Parvati was Usha's dance teacher. So every day Usha will go and learn dance from Parvati, and she will teach, and this is a beautiful dance. And Usha was very interested in learning it, and she learnt it very well. And in that process, she also was very attached to Parvati. Who wouldn't like to have Parvati every day? And it was not just dance. Usha had access to Parvati to talk about anything. And so she was someone who looked upon Parvati in a great way. And Banasura was watching Usha, and Usha is so beautiful, and she's now with this dance and all, she's like extremely great. And so he started to get worried about his daughter, and he wanted to make sure nobody abducts her or anything like that. And so he put her under a heavy watch. So her palace was heavily guarded, and so every movement of hers was watched. So he was very careful about his daughter. And Usha obviously felt all of this is very restraining, that she was not free. Wherever she went, there were all these people watching, etc. So Usha wanted to break away from there. And for all these princesses, the only way is they get married and leave. So, but Banasura wasn't in a hurry to find anybody, any match or anything. So um, Usha was talking to Parvati, and Parvati sensed that Usha was ready. She wanted to marry someone and go, but there was nobody in sight, and there was no Swayamvara being arranged, and she was not in love with anybody, so she didn't know whom she was going to marry. So one day Parvati told her, pretty soon you are going to get to know who you will marry, and that day you will start your process to become that person's wife. So now that Parvati gave this word, Usha was very happy. So one day Usha had finished all her evening things and was ready to go to bed, and it was evening time, and she was lying in her bed, and suddenly she sees this most handsome youth. She's never seen anybody like this, and he's so charming, just looking at his eyes, so captivating, so handsome. And the moment she set his eyes on him, she's just fallen in love. And so she overcomes her shyness, and she is engaging with this person. To her surprise, he's also talking to her, and he also seems immediately smitten, and immediately is fallen in love with Usha, and both of them are walking in the moonlight. They are in a beautiful garden. There is a pond. They are singing songs. Everything is so beautiful, and she's thinking, oh, this is probably the person I'm intended to, I'm destined to marry. And then she's going on with all of this, and then suddenly there's somebody by her side and saying, Usha, wake up, it's morning. And then she wakes up, and at that point she realizes she had slept off, and all along who she saw, everything that she saw was in her dream. And the moment she realizes this was a dream, she's completely shocked. It seems so real, and she could see this person, she could feel this person, she feels like she's lived with this person. And now she feels like she's committed to this person, and she cannot marry anybody else. In those days, pativrata means with thought. If you decide to marry someone, that's it. You stick to that thought. So she's now decided that this is the person, but she has no idea. She only knows how he looks, but she doesn't know who this person is. And she's seen somebody in a dream, and she doesn't even know whether that person exists or not. And so she is completely shattered. And this dream was so real. And so she's sitting in her bed, and she's crying, pouring her heart out for this girl who was feeling like her father's all these restrictions were too much, and she wanted to marry somebody, and now she sees this person, she doesn't even know who he is. So she's crying. And Usha happened to have a friend called Chitralekha, and this Chitralekha is very close friend of Usha, and she really loves Usha. So Chitralekha comes by because she's crying now. All these girls are very scared. So they're calling for Chitralekha. Chitralekha comes and she sees that she's crying. And so Chitralekha asks, "What happened? Why are you crying like this?" And then after all of that, Usha composes herself and she tells her what happened. She says that there is a dream that I had and I found this person. Now I cannot marry anyone other than this person, but I don't even know who he is. And this is where Chitralekha is very handy. She has a lot of skills, and Chitralekha has the ability to, she's a yogini. Therefore, she has the ability to see into your mind. And so she uses that ability and she goes and sees who this person is in Usha's mind, and therefore she then also has the ability to draw very well. So she sees who's there in Usha's mind and takes some descriptions from Usha, and based on that she draws a person. Now, number one, at least what Usha saw, now they have a picture of it, right? Something that's drawn. So then she goes ahead and does some research, and finally she finds out that the person that Usha saw was Aniruddha, and Aniruddha is the grandson of Krishna. So no wonder he was captivating. He has all the same things like his grandfather. So he's a very handsome person. Now one problem solved, that at least they know who this person that Usha likes. So Usha has a name now called Aniruddha. Now the second thing is, now how to go against all of the restrictions that Banasura has created and marry Aniruddha, right? And Banasura is not arranging for any Swayamvara. And this is where Chitralekha is even more resourceful. Chitralekha has the ability to do anything that she wants. So what Chitralekha does is one night when everybody is sleeping, she goes to Dwaraka and abducts Aniruddha from his bed without him being aware of it, and she brings him back into where Usha is in Sonitapura. So now Usha, in Usha's room, in the bed, Aniruddha is lying down, and then it's morning and Aniruddha is waking up from sleep, this time for real. He's there in Sonitapura, and as soon as he wakes up, he doesn't know where he is. He's in a new place, and suddenly he sees this woman who's so beautiful, and he's asking, where am I? Who am I? And then Usha treats Aniruddha as if he is God himself. So she tends to everything. She tells him about how she saw him in the dream, everything. And Aniruddha also immediately falls in love with Usha. She makes him feel so special. She makes him feel like she is the center of his universe. So he is the center of her universe. And therefore, Aniruddha also falls in love. And therefore, these two lovebirds are having such a good time. They are with each other. What more will they want? So they are enjoying, and they continue to be with each other. The guards in the palace, Usha's palace, become now suspicious. Something is going on, and this girl is not going for her dance class. There are some voices that are being heard, etc. So obviously everybody is very scared of Banasura. So promptly they go and tell Banasura, something is going on, you need to watch your daughter. So one day, without announcing, Banasura just like that shows up in Usha's palace, and because she was not aware, she was just happily playing dice with Aniruddha, and both of them are laughing and sitting there. And Banasura comes to see that his daughter is with a man, gets very upset, and no father will like all of this. So he gets very angry, and then he immediately goes to fight with Aniruddha. Aniruddha is also a great warrior, but Banasura had some real special skills, and with that he was able to capture Aniruddha, and he put Aniruddha in the jail. And now it's like almost a month has passed, and Aniruddha is now in the jail. In the meantime, in Dwaraka, where all the people were living, one fine night, Aniruddha has disappeared. He was sleeping there, and next day morning he's not there. So everybody is searching for Aniruddha. They're checking, where is he? Where is he? So for last 1 month, they're all trying to search for him. And so in this situation, now Aniruddha is put in the jail. Sage Narada comes to know about all these happenings. So he goes to Krishna and he's saying, Krishna, I know where Aniruddha is. He is in Sonitapura. Banasura has put him in the jail. And now That's it. The entire Yadava Sena is starting now. Krishna, Pradyumna, everybody, all the Balarama, everybody is going. And Yadava Sena is one of the biggest Senas. The army is very big. Somebody comes and abducts their prince and puts them in the jail, and for what purpose? They have to go to leave him. So now everybody is going. And one thing that Krishna did not anticipate when going to Banasura, obviously it was war, right? It's like they've taken their prince and therefore it's war. Banasura was also prepared. Whoever comes, I will fight, right? Because that person did wrong by the daughter, right? So that's a two thing. One thing Krishna didn't expect is that Banasura was under the protection of Shiva, and Shiva was right there in Sonitapura. So, when Yadava Sena was coming and this army was approaching for war, Banasura was getting his army ready, and obviously Shiva said, I will protect you no matter. Therefore, Shiva also showed up for war. Not just Shiva, Muruga, everybody, Subramanya or Muruga, everybody showed up for war. So now the Yadava Sena is coming and Krishna has to face Shiva. Imagine who can face Shiva. So now this has become a big Hari and Hara war, and this has the potential to cause significant destruction. And if Vishnu and Shiva fight, who will win? This is like impossible to tell, right? So then now the fight is happening, and he has to cross Shiva if he has to go to Banasura. That's the only way. Crossing Shiva is impossible for anybody. So now both sides are fighting. The war is not going to end, and therefore Krishna immediately releases a weapon which puts Shiva to sleep, and Shiva falls asleep. And now when Shiva is falling asleep, no other choice, right? Now Banasura had to fight. So now Banasura is fighting with Krishna, and obviously Krishna has the Sudarshana Chakra, and Krishna was able to fight Banasura, and all his 1,000 arms, he started cutting all of them down, and he only had 4 arms left. And at that time Shiva woke up from the sleep, and then Shiva quickly reached to Krishna and he said, look, don't do anything. Please, I told him that I will protect him. He is my devotee, so please do not kill him. And then Krishna also said, hey, I also was not planning to kill him. He is Prahlada's lineage, and I told Prahlada that I will always be there for him, and therefore I don't want to kill his lineage. And I only wanted to teach him a lesson. He had become very egoistic, now thinking that you are there. He is now treating his daughter like this, and there was, his daughter was completely, that was within her right to choose whomever she wants to marry. And Banasura should have known that. So then Banasura also recognized that even though he was a great devotee of Shiva, he was not very good to everybody else, and in that ego, he was controlling everybody's life. And therefore Banasura immediately agreed that Usha can marry Aniruddha. And therefore Usha married Aniruddha, and with Krishna and everybody, she went back to Dwaraka, and where they lived. And Banasura recognized and realized, and therefore he gave up everything, and then he went and worshipped Shiva as a lingam. So they call it as a Bana lingam. So he worshipped. And Usha went and she stayed with the Krishna's family, with the Yadava family, and all the Gopikas were there. And therefore she had learnt all the Lasya dance from Parvati, and Usha went ahead and taught it to all the Gopikas. So it is said that from the Gopikas, then it spread all over the universe. And if you see today, Odissi dance, and that is something that belongs to Orissa, that is a dance that has incorporated Lasya. So that's why if in Odissi you actually can see both Lasyam and Tandavam, but Odissi is very, very popular for the graceful movements, the gentle movements, and those are all incorporating Lasya. Obviously, Lasya is also in other dances. Bharatanatyam has aspects of Lasya. Even Kathak has aspects of Lasya. Manipuri has aspects of Lasya. Mohiniyattam has aspects of Lasya. Anywhere there is grace and charm, those steps are all in there. And some people even believe that Garba Ras is also incorporating the Lasya steps. So that's how from the dance Lasya was created by Parvati, and it was taught by Parvati to Usha, And Usha brought it to all the gopikas, and from the gopikas, today it's available all over the world. And anybody who sees all of these dance, you can't help but be very, like that. It's a beautiful and very graceful moments. So that's about Lasyapriyā, and that's all for today.